Next question comes from Jim, who asks, I'd like to get your opinion on wrist locks. They are illegal in judo because they are dangerous and come on fast. However, many people say that they don't work in real life because they don't use them in MMA. But they can't be used in MMA because the fighter's wrists are taped. So it defends against the wrist locks. Thoughts? Okay, yeah, wrist locks are really rare in MMA, as you pointed out, specifically because the fighter's wrists are taped up and secured and they've got that glove on, and so it's much, much harder to bend, and you need to be able to bend and twist the wrist in order to get a wrist lock. Now, it is possible to wrist lock someone in MMA, but you need to have really, really strong grips to make that happen. Okay? So in an MMA context, a wrist lock is not going to be a high percentage move unless you just have freakish forearms and grip strength. Now, I like wrist locks. I use them a lot in grappling. I use them a lot in sparring and whatnot. You know, there are a few wrist locks I use a lot. They're much, much more effective when you get your opponent pinned. For example, you're in mount and you're throwing punches down. The guy brings his hands up here to cover up, and then you lock one of those wrists that he's covering up with. That's a great move. I use that a lot. That's something you can potentially pull off in an MMA fight. But again, you need some grip strength there, right? It's not a move for weaklings at all. Now, it's legal in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, unlike judo. A lot of stuff that's illegal in judo is legal in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so you will see wrist locks in jiu-jitsu. There was a fairly high-profile match a while back. I think, I could be wrong about this, I think it was Rodolfo Vieira. His opponent reached over and grabbed the lapel, which happens all the time. You know, you grab the lapel as you're trying to get the control of the gi there. And Vieira, I believe it was, hooked the arm over and pulled off this really cool wrist lock without even breaking the grip off his lapel. So that stuff does happen in jiu-jitsu. I would say in a jiu-jitsu context, it's lower percentage than a lot of other moves for a couple of reasons. One, it's not trained as much as the higher percentage moves like the rear naked choke and the triangle choke and the armbar. And two, most of the time you really have to pin your opponent before it gets easy to pull off a wrist lock. But every once in a while you see outliers like that Vieira match where, you know, he pulled off the wrist lock right from the lapel grab. So it is something I enjoy. You know, I use them a lot. Interesting thing about wrist locks, though. I don't think they're super dangerous. I just think that a lot of people are not trained to tap out to them or recognize that they are dangerous. So I notice a lot of times people come from different gyms and I grapple with them and, you know, I catch them in a wrist lock and it's the first time they've been caught in a wrist lock in their life, and they'll start screaming and squirming and thrashing around, but they won't tap out. It's kind of the same reason why a lot of people say that heel hooks are dangerous. Yeah, all submissions are dangerous and heel hooks are dangerous because they can tear up your ACL. But here's the real danger when people are not trained to understand why it's dangerous. And so you have people not tapping out when they should and, you know, getting their ACL torn up, right? So same thing with the wrist lock. You've got to understand why it's dangerous and, you know, when and why to tap out. Great question.